KWT slaying.
What if the truth was never lost, only buried? For centuries, historians, scholars, and even colonial records have confirmed what many tried to silence. The original Israelites were a black people scattered across continents but never erased. Their skin was dark, their customs ancient, and their covenant with Yah eternal. This journey uncovers how the Spanish and Portuguese Jews, described as dark-skinned, Semitic, shared one bloodline. Chased by the Inquisition, many fled to Portugal, then beyond, preserving their heritage across borders. But the story doesn't end in Iberia. Across from West Africa, black Jews built synagogues, kept Torah, and passed down the laws of Moses. The Limba in southern Africa, the Igbo in Nigeria, the Beta Israel in Ethiopia, tribes across the continent boldly declare, "We are the children of Israel." These aren't isolated claims. These are voices rising from the dust, connected by oral histories, Torah traditions, and the unbroken rhythm of their identity. No such legacy exists among European Jews. No centuries of tribal witness, no matching traditions, no trace of ancient covenant keeping. Maps, art, and archaeology tell the same story. The Israelites were scattered, enslaved, and displaced, but never lost. The world always knew who they were. Their presence was visible, their customs alive, their story intact. This book doesn't speculate. It confirms the Israelites were black, bound by blood, culture, and covenant to the Most High. This is not just history, it's restoration. The truth was never destroyed, only buried beneath centuries of deception. Get your copy of They Always Knew We Were Israelites today, available now on Amazon.com.
Shalom, my family. How y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. Give me a 1 if I sound okay. Give me a 2 if not. Okay, good. So, I know a lot of times, we can look at the negative things, right? The problems that we're dealing with and the struggles that we're dealing with and all of these judgments while we're in this nation. But when you look and see and notice that the Most High is fighting for us, then that will give you courage that we're going to be leaving. It's sort of like when, sometimes I look at the world and all of the struggles and strife. And, when you go through illnesses and, you confess the word. And then you realize, the Most High, his word has always come to pass. Everything he has said has come to pass. Our captivity has come to pass, right? All of this. So when we look at the scriptures and we see the judgments, but we also know, okay, well, if those things came to pass, then the blessings will come to pass. If those things came to pass, our deliverance will come to pass. If so, as we see the judgments on the whore, we also know that our deliverance draw it not. Now, a lot of people going to feel a heat, right? It's like I said in the previous show, right? That we're being refined and we're going to go into the wilderness. And in the wilderness is where we get tested so that heat can turn up and so that the impurities can remove. Now, I would say this, when we do go into the wilderness, don't fail the test. Don't do like our ancestors and fail the test. You will be in the wilderness for another 40 years, right? But some of the rebels are going to fail the test, and you're going to have some Korahs. You're going to have some Korahs, and they're going to fall into that pit. You're going to have it. That's just the way our people are. But understand that the Most High is moving. And I'm going to show you, right? I'm going to show you, that, when people look at the things, we can see the things against us, like I was saying, but what about the things against them, right? Well, but you shouldn't be glorying in other people's downfall. No, I'm not glorying in other people's downfall. I'm glorying in the fact that the Most High is fulfilling his word as promised, right? So let's start with this. We're going to look at a scripture and we're going to move along. So, we have these enemies, and the Bible talks about our enemies. Now, this is Deuteronomy 28. So this is how you're in the land of your enemies and that these people are your enemies. Now, as a nation, I'm sorry, Gentiles, especially the Caucasians, right? Y'all are enemies according to Torah. All right, so Deuteronomy 28, right, verse 30. You shall betroth a wife, but another man shall lie with her. You shall build a house, but you shall not dwell in it. All right. So we know in history that a lot of these things occurred to our people. Right. And so let's continue as we go on. Right. But you shall not you shall build a house, but you shall not dwell in it. You shall plant a vineyard, but shall not gather its grapes. Your ox shall be slaughtered before your eyes, but you shall not eat of it. Your donkey shall be violently taken away from before you, and shall not be restored to you. Your sheep shall be given to your enemies, and you shall have no one to rescue them. Your sons and your daughters shall be given to another people, and your eyes shall look and fill with longing for them all day long, and there shall be no strength in your hand. A nation whom you have not known shall eat the fruit of your land and the produce of your labor, and you shall be only oppressed, crushed continually. All right. So my question to you is, if we take the scriptures for what it says, who's your enemy? Who slept with your wives or our ancestors, right? Who took old grandma to the back, right? Who took your house when you built it? Who tore down your house, right, when you built it? Black Wall Street, all that stuff, right? Who takes all of your resources, all of the abilities of your hand? Like, you're a musician. They make money off of you being a musician. Who's the people that hire you to do a job to build their homes, build their cars, and all these things? Who are these people that you have to get everything from? Who owns all of the resources, all the corporations, and all of these things that you have to come to get your daily needs met, right? Who are these? Who are these people today? Who are they? Who took your sons and your daughters? We know historically who did it. Come on now, family, answer me. Who are these people? I want to see the answer before I move on. YT folks. That's who did it. Now, we can't deny the history, right? Even Gentiles, let's be honest. Who did it? Europeans. Who did it? Anglo-Saxons, right? Well, Yahuah, y'all always making it about race, and this is why I can't stand you Hebrew Israelites. Well, my question to you is, am I lying? According to Torah, you all are our enemies. Why? Because the people who are our enemies, according to Torah, did all of these things to us. Now, y'all want us to ignore it and forget it. But according to Torah, y'all are enemies. So now that we got that straight, let's move on a little further, because we know who the enemies are, right? We identify the enemies. Let's go to Deuteronomy 30, verse 7. Also, Yahuah, your Elohim, will put all these curses on your enemies and on those who hate you, who persecuted you. Now, once again, we define who the enemy is, right? Y'all say it's the YT folks. I agree. It's the Europeans. It's the Anglo-Saxon. So Yahuah says that he's going to put all these curses of Deuteronomy 28 on your enemies and on those who hate you and who persecute you. Right? So we understand that we're dealing with a nation that persecuted and oppressed Yahuah's people. And now we see that they're going to have a curse, or these curses, Deuteronomy 28 curses, put on them. Now, the thing is, we know according to the scriptures, right, we were kicked out of our land, right? Our land became desolate, right? So we got to understand what's happening here is that these curses started back when we were in the land. Now, the question we have to ask, when the land became desolate, what does that mean? Well, in the Bible, desolate primarily means being without people, an empty and forsaken place where life has vanished. It describes cities and lands left uninhabited after judgment. Their silence showing that Yahuah's presence and blessing have departed. The word paints a picture of total abandonment with fruitfulness. So no more fruitfulness. And joy, no more joy. Returning only when Yahuah restores the people to the land. So desolate is being devoid of people. But yet we see here that the curses of Deuteronomy 28 is going to be put on our enemies, and we defined who our enemies are. Now, they're not going to listen to me. I've been warning them, what, over 10 years now, more, what was coming and is here. And, you know, they went and put Trump in office, right, thinking we were going to be affected by it. But I see Israelites just sitting back eating popcorn. But they're screaming and crying, well, why y'all not out there protesting? Why y'all not doing? Why? Because we know this is the time of our deliverance. And this is the time of your judgment. But what they fail to realize is that, you know, and like I say, I don't glory in people suffering. That's not how I do. But what they fail to realize is that they are already under judgment. As a nation of people, they're already under judgment as a nation of people. Now let's look at this, and we're gonna see, because remember, the Bible says what? That Israel became desolate. Our land became desolate. It became devoid of people. What can we repeat? Devoid of people. What? They didn't have enough of people, right? Okay.
Racing towards extinction. Europe's latest birth rates paint a bleak picture. The 2024 figures are some of the worst in decades, if not on record. In Germany, the fertility rate dropped to 1.35 children per woman, the lowest since 1994, which came off the back of a recession period. Researchers clearly said the only reason why the population didn't shrink last year was because of migration. Migration also slowed the population decline in Italy, but not enough to prevent a decrease. Italy's 2024 2024 birth rate was 1.18, a record low. For every 1,000 people, only 6 babies were born, while 11 people died. In neighboring France, which is traditionally one of Europe's most fertile nations, numbers are also dropping fast. Its fertility rate in 2024 at 1.62 was the lowest since the end of the First World War. Even the wealthy northern European countries are suffering a decline in births, with Finland notably reporting the lowest fertility rate since 1776. Poland holds one of the bottom spots with only 1.1. England and Wales represent an exception with a tiny 0.6% growth thanks to a surprising rise in babies born to fathers over 60 years old.
So they have a decline in the birth rate, right? And the Bible says that these curses that were on the Esra Elawi is going to come on them. And we're starting to see this happen today, right?
Interesting data today. Britain's baby bus laid bare. Fertility rate plunges to an all-time low. That all-time low is 1.49. That was in 2022. It slumped even further by now. Now, this is an interesting trend that we're seeing throughout the West. And it's no surprise that just last month, also out of the UK, they had a review showing that less than half of millennials ever intended to have a baby. So it's pretty easy to see how we've ended up here. But the fact that this is something that we're seeing play out across the West, here in Australia, our fertility rate is just 1.72. We haven't been meeting the replacement rate required since the 70s. And then we wonder, why does government have to import so many people? Why does government keep bringing so many immigrants here? If we were just having more babies, we wouldn't be bringing as many. And it's interesting to note how throughout Europe, Douglas Murray wrote about this in his book, The Strange Death of Europe, how so much of it has to do with how many people are or aren't having babies. The fact that Africa's fertility rate is 4.1, Egypt's is 3.1. If you just contrast the Western countries compared to others, the contrast is stark. We're simply not replacing ourselves, which is why, in large part, we're seeing Western nations, the face of them is changing forever, and nothing but a ginormous baby boom could ever change it.
We mentioned Douglas Murray's book, The Strange Death of Europe. Another great book on this is by Mark Stein, who wrote a book some years ago called America Alone, where he argued demography is destiny. And when you've got falling Western birth rates, you've got to import the population to pay for your NHS in the UK and to keep the economy going and to provide aged care. But you've also got those people you're importing, they tend to be religious people, typically Islamic people whose birth rate is far higher than the local birth rate. So all you need to do to know what the future looks like is just project 50 years into the future, looking at current demographic trends. And the UK, they're the figures we're looking at here specifically, will be a very different looking UK. And so he makes this point.
So can you imagine, right, the reason why the right has taken power, right? The right has taken power because they see these things, right? And this is the reason why they're after immigrants, right? This is why they're after black folks. Why? Because they see their decline. But what they fail to realize is that all of this is prophetic. All of this is the judgment of the Most High. Why? Because the curses that were on us is now on those who oppressed us. Like I said in the beginning, who is our enemy? Who did all of the Deuteronomy? Well, let's say a lot of the Deuteronomy 28 curses to us. Well, it's them folks. So now we're starting to see that the tables have turned, right? There's a great exchange, right? The cursed is going to be blessed or being blessed, and the rich, the powerful, is going to be ruined.
Mr. President, demographers tell us that in order to sustain itself, a population needs a birth rate of 2.1 live births per woman. In the whole of Europe, The only country that is reproducing at sustainability level is Albania, or Turkey if you count Turkey as a European country. Nowhere else. Europe, including European Russia, is scheduled, according to one UN report, to lose 100 million people over the next 40 years. Germany alone is going to see a shrinkage of its population of 20 million. These are not projections about what might happen if we don't do something. If you like, there's nothing we can do about it now. The decline in birth rates has already happened. The only question is how we deal about it. Why did it come to this stage? What brought us to this pass? Well, one doesn't want to oversimplify. There's obviously a lot of things going on to do with changing working patterns, to do with the spread of contraception, to do with the different role of women in society, to do with longevity. But I wonder whether one part of the problem is the way in which the state has expanded and squeezed out the private sphere, has annexed to itself jobs and duties that were traditionally discharged within the family: childcare, education, social security. The first generation raised with cradle-to-grave welfare, in other words, to be excused the traditional responsibilities of adulthood, was also the first to give up on parenthood. And we now face a choice between demographic collapse or importing 100 million people to sustain our numbers and pay our pensions. This should be the top issue in Europe, and it's not one that we're going to address by arguing about changes in employment regulation.
So this should be the top concern, he says, in Europe. Why? Because they know they are in decline. This is the Most High's judgment. The curses that were on us is going on them. And there's nothing they can do about it. But they don't realize that, like we've been saying from the very beginning, they need to repent. And repentance not only means, oh, I'm sorry. Repentance means restoration. Repentance means reparation, but they're not going to listen, and they're going to continue to be judged. The Most High is working. The prophecies are coming to pass, but those with eyes are the only ones can see.
Hello, I'm Annette Young, and welcome back to another season of the 51%er show about women reshaping our world. In a special edition, we're focusing on an issue that's starting to seriously worry governments across the world. That is a global trend in declining birth rates. A joint UNFPA YouGov study recently surveyed 14 nations that represents 37% of the world's population. It revealed fertility rates have fallen to below 2.1 births per woman, the threshold needed for population stability without immigration in more than half of all those countries that took part. But the authors stressing a major reason being that it wasn't that people don't want to have children, they simply just cannot afford to. In a moment, I'll be talking to Dr. Paula Shepherd, an anthropologist from Oxford University. But first...
So we see this as a global issue, right? It's not just Britain, is not just the US. It is a global issue. And that is why, I don't know if y'all know about Japan, right? Japan has been trying or putting in, policies to create a section within Japan for workers from Africa to come there and work. Young Africans. Why? Because Japan's birth rate is crashing. And so they have one of the lowest, but all of these nations, right? Portugal, Spain, Poland, all these nations are declining. And so what we're seeing here is judgment, in my opinion, on the Psalm 83 conspiracies. Right now, it's Edom with his people, right? And then all of their allies, right? So we're seeing this massive decline. Now, what the other important thing we must take note of is that we can understand why MAGA is upset. We can understand now why Project 2025 has been implemented. We can understand why the Heritage Foundation is doing what they're doing. We can understand why they have the 7 Mountains principles, why they're doing that. Why? Because they know they're losing, and they know that Negroes are going to rise, right? Now, they also know prophetically this is spoken of. Okay, this is spoken of in the prophecies that the curses would flip on them. And that is what we're seeing. Now, we can also understand that this is why our current president is doing what he's doing. President Donald Trump expands access to in vitro fertilization, lowering costs and reducing barriers to IVF. Today, President Trump signed an executive order expanding access to in vitro fertilization for Americans. The order directs policy recommendations to protect IVF access and aggressively reduce out-of-pocket and health plan costs for such treatments. The recommendations will focus on how to ensure reliable access to in vitro fertilization. Priority will also be placed on addressing any current policies, including those that require legislation that exacerbate the cost of IVF treatments. The order recognizes the importance of family formation and that our nation's public policy must make it easier for loving and longing mothers and fathers to have children. Now, you know they don't want you to reproduce, right? This is all for them folks, right? Supporting American families. As many as 1 in 7 couples trying to have a baby are unable to conceive, and many face significant financial hurdles to accessing IVF. Now, the interesting thing is, if you think about what's been happening, right? The whole thing with Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, right? The whole Georgia Guidestones, the reduction of the world's population. I mean, this was part of their plan. So it's like, okay, well, I'm a bit confused. Is this not what you were trying to achieve? Or was it just you trying to reduce the world populations in terms of people of color? So they want to support American families by allowing them to get access to in vitro fertilization. Donald Trump's impact on U.S. birth rates. U.S. President Donald Trump had a notable impact on birth rates during his first term in the Oval Office, and the same is expected in his second term, according to researchers. We want more babies. The United States is among several major economic powerhouse countries facing a population decline driven by low fertility rates. That's white population. They're not talking about you. America's fertility rate is now projected to average 1.6 births per woman over the next 3 decades, according to the Congressional Budget Office latest forecast released this year. This is well below the replacement level of 2.1 births per woman required to maintain a stable population without immigration. So they are below replacement level. They're below replacement level, but yet who they call minorities is above replacement level. Trump has spoken out on this issue several times, including during a campaign speech in December when he said, "We want more babies," to put it nicely. Last month, Trump signed an executive order, which I showed you, expanding access to in vitro fertilization for Americans. You know, you're not an American, right? Not if you have melanin in your skin. You know, this is for them, not us. While Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy directed the Department of Transportation to give precedence to communities with marriage and birth rates higher than the national average. All right, so even Trump is moving on the bandwagon because they are below replacement levels. And this is why they hate you so much. This is why they're mad. This is why they're trying to pew-pew you and hang you from trees. This is why they're removing all the money to support minorities and people's sustainability in life and call you DEI and CRT and all this stuff. Why? Because they're scared of being replaced. This is the facts. But this isn't us. It's the Most High. It's his judgment. Why? Because the curses that were on us is coming on them.
America has 99 problems, and one of them is children. Americans are not having enough of them. Since 2007, the fertility rate has dropped by a quarter. Fertility rate is the average number of children a woman has in her lifetime. It is a crucial indicator. It tells us about population dynamics. In the US, the fertility rate stands at 1.6, and this is shrinking the American population. So the home of the brave does not have enough kids, and this is making them anxious. So the US is brimming with brilliant ideas. Take Vice President J.D. Vance, for instance. He wants parents to have more voting rights than so-called childless cat ladies. Elon Musk is hard at work. He's trying to boost the birth rate all by himself. And what about the self-anointed fertilization president, Donald Trump? He's panicking. So as usual, he's throwing money at the problem. Along with a catchy name in typical Trump fashion, he has unveiled a new federal program. It is called Trump Accounts. It's all about cash for kids. The government will open investment accounts for toddlers, for babies born during Trump's current term. Each of them will receive $1,000. This will be a one-time contribution made by the government. And
Do you think black folks getting that money? I'm just asking. Do you think minorities getting that money? I'm just asking.
Controlled by the guardians. It will be a tax-free investment. It will track the stock market. The account will be tied to how the overall stock market performs. The profit will be added to the investment, and the full balance can be taken out when the child reaches the age of 30. And Donald Trump hopes that giving people $1,000 will push them to have more babies. He calls it a pro-family initiative. So you know what it really is. It is a baby bonus. Yes, another year, another country, but the same old problem and the same tired plan. A baby bonus.
So they need to give baby bonuses. It's very interesting because it reminds me, right, of when Moses went to Pharaoh. And Moses said, look, let my people go so that they can worship me, right? Because Israel is my firstborn. Pharaoh say, I'm not letting them go. Same thing, I guarantee you, right? Whether spiritually or whatever, they're like, we're not letting them go. And the Most High told Pharaoh, okay, you got my firstborn. I'm going to take your firstborn. I'm just saying, look at it. And this is a global captivity. We're not just in Egypt anymore. We're not in Kansas anymore. So we see the same thing happening in a different way, right? That you take my firstborn, I'm going to take your firstborn. The Most High says, let my people go. But you said, no, Pharaoh. We are in Egypt again, right? You said, no, Pharaoh. But now here we go. We see this whole thing starting again. Why? Because we're about to go where? Into the wilderness. Egypt is under judgment. Nobody said it was going to be exactly like what we saw our ancestors go through. Of course, we're in the modern world and we in a global world, and things happen differently. That's why I say you don't know how the prophecies are going to fulfill themselves and play out. But they see it, and they see that they're affected by it. Deuteronomy 30 verse 7, and Yahuah thy Elohim will put all these curses upon thy enemies, right? And on them that hate thee and which persecute thee. Who persecutes us? Who hates us? I'm just saying, doesn't Trump them hate us? Doesn't the MAGA hate us? Don't most of the world hate us? The Most High putting the judgments on all of them. Is it coincidence? Is it happenstance? Isaiah 13, 11 to 12. And I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. We always thought about this reduction as war. And I'm not saying that's not included, but maybe it's just this whole judgment right here where their population is below replacement level. Isaiah 24, 1 to 6. See, Yahuah is going to lay waste the earth and devastate it. He will ruin its face and scatter its inhabitants. It will be the same for priests as for the people, for the master as for the servant, for the mistress as for the servant, for the seller as for the buyer, for borrower as for the lender, for debtor as for the creditor. The earth will be completely laid waste and totally plundered. Yahuah has spoken this word. The earth dries up and withers, the world languishes and withers, the heavens languish in the earth. The earth is defiled by its people. They have disobeyed the laws, violated the statutes, and broken the everlasting covenant. Hey, but the law done away with, right? It don't matter. That's what Christians say. Therefore, a curse consumes what? The earth. Its people must bear their guilt. Therefore, earth's inhabitants are burned up and very few are left. So We're going to have not only the reduction in birth by this natural means, we're going to have war, which is going to reduce populations. We're going to have all of these plagues that's going to reduce population. All of this stuff is happening. People just don't have eyes to see. Isaiah 47:7-9. You said, I am forever the eternal queen, but you did not consider these things or reflect on what might happen. Now then, listen, you lover of pleasure, lounging in your security, and saying to yourself, I am, and there is none besides me. I will never be a widow, sound like America to me, or suffer the loss of children, sound like America to me, but they're a below birth replacement. Both of these will overtake you in a moment, a single day, what? Loss of children and widowhood. They will come upon you in full measure in spite of your many sorceries. Can we say pharmacy, medicine, reproduction, IVF, and all your potent spells? They will come upon you in full measure in spite of your medicines, pharmakia, and all your potent spells, in vitro fertilization. You can't stop it. You can't stop it. Ezekiel 35:3-4. This is what Yahuah says. I am against you, Mount Seir, and I will stretch out my hand against you and make you a desolate waste. I will turn your towns into ruins and you will be desolate. Then you will know that I am Yahuah. Remember, desolate means without people. Isaiah 60:12. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. The Most High is already judging them. Now, what we do know is that in the reverse, right? Because of what? It is from curse to bless, from power to ruin. We saw the from power to ruin, but now we can look at what's happening from curse to bless.
50 years. Currently, Africa has 18% of the global population, but by the end of the century, this will rise to 42%, with big drops in the population expected in Europe, Asia, and America. Fertility rates are plummeting around the world, but especially in Europe and Asia. In fact, fertility rates have fallen much faster than previous official expectations. The result is that populations are forecast to reach the most pessimistic scenarios. All advanced economies have a fertility rate of less than the replacement rate, the rate necessary to keep the population stable. It is only the Arab world and Africa where fertility rates are sufficiently high to cause a rising population. The latest UN forecast suggests that the population of Africa is set to nearly triple to 3 billion people by the end of the century. This contrasts with a decline in China, America, and parts of Europe. By the end of the century, there will be more people in sub-Saharan Africa than the entire combined population of Japan, Europe, and North America. And it's not just about a declining population in Europe, but also an aging population. If we take regions experiencing that first wave of declining fertility, US, China, Europe, and Japan, in 1997, the average support ratio, the number of working-age people to retired, was 7-1. In 2025, it was 4 working people to each person over 65. But by 2050, it will be just 2 workers for every 1 retired person. And there's no precedent in world history for such a rapid drop in the working age population. There's a vague idea, a vague hope that artificial intelligence, new technology will replace a lot of manual jobs, and it may well do it to some extent. But will there be enough care workers, doctors, nurses to deal with a rapidly aging population? And then on top of that, you've got all the costs of an aging population, the unwelcome arithmetic of a declining tax base, but higher spending on pensions and health care. If we compare working age populations, the difference is going to be even more stark. By the end of the century, China, Europe, and the United States will have a combined working age population of 870 million. In Africa, it will have risen to 2 billion. So given a shortage of workers, a shrinking tax base, and a growing number of old people needing social care and healthcare, one solution will always be to look towards Africa and its large pool of young workers. Already Europe is seeing greater levels of legal migration from Africa than in previous decades. Africa has seen a rise in the number of migrants living outside Africa from 6 million to 20 million. Despite nativist and anti-immigration sentiment, the Italian PM Giorgia Meloni has increased the number of non-EU work visas. The need for care workers can become greater than the preference to avoid immigration. Even Japan and South Korea, who restricted migration very strictly for so many years, are starting to relax their visas, with immigration starting to pick up. Perhaps not unsurprising, given that Korea's birth rate of just 0.9 is the lowest in the world. Africans are certainly ready to migrate for the opportunity to earn higher wages, escape relatively poor job prospects back at home. Generally, when people are very poor, they don't have the opportunity to consider immigration. But when wages rise above $5,000 a year, that's said to be the emigration sweet spot. Low wages, but enough income to make it feasible. And Africa will soon have millions of people moving into that income bracket of $5,000 to $10,000 a year. So given poor job prospects, weak economies, ongoing corruption, the aspiration to work abroad is going to be high. But the question is, how will advanced economies respond to their own demographic crunch? Now, one of the main concerns about current high levels of migration is that boosting the population during a period of housing shortages has caused a big rise in rent and housing costs.
So when we look at this, we see that Africa is rising and the European countries are falling. And so they're talking about the idea of increased immigration while they're getting rid of people right now, right? Yeah. It just don't make no sense, right? But here's the deal. If you understand the scriptures and the prophecies, right, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. The fact that, Africa is going to be almost 3 times more than the European nations, that we can only become the head at some point. At some point, who they call Africans, which is inclusive of the Esra Elawi, the Israelites, the Yasharao, the African Israelites, right? We're going to become the head. Now, just imagine, the fact that we're being pushed out, right? I hope y'all know that. We're being pushed out by Trump, and we're going to flee into the wilderness to escape the dragon. That now what we have is the opportunity to go back and build, and we got people like Ibrahim Traore in Mali, Niger, right? And probably even Madagascar, depending upon how they move, Botswana, where they're controlling their resources. So the thing is, the Western nations, even though they need immigrants, will not be able to afford the immigrants. Why? Because they won't have the wealth. The wealth is on the continent as well. And the fact that we're starting to take our resources back on the continent means that most of our people, those immigrants that they're planning to get from Africa, can only happen if you keep Africa poor. The only way they can get them immigrants from Africa is that they have to keep Africa poor. But guess what? According to Torah, that's not going to happen. According to Torah, that's not going to happen. We're going to become wealthy. And we see that already with Ibrahim Traore. They're like, we're keeping our gold. We see that with Niger. We're keeping our uranium. We see that with all of the Sahel states. Not even just them, even Uganda, right? They're like, okay, well, we're not giving you our resources. You got to come here and build. We want factories. We want products. Oh, yeah. That's why they're so upset. That's why they hate you, Israel. That's why they're mad at you, Israel, because they know you're rising. The Most High said he's going to come and get us, and the last shall be first, and the first shall be last.
Thoughts about Africa can fall into cliches. There's the romanticized image of endless natural beauty, waterfalls, rainforests, golden savannas dotted by elephants and lions. And then there's this idea of Africa as a perpetual humanitarian tragedy. Famine, epidemics, violent coups, and bitter tribal conflicts. Yes, Africa has all of these. But the problem with cliches is that they often make you miss the real story. And the real story is that the world itself is becoming more African, fast. Projections show that by 2050, Africa's current population of 1.4 billion will double. That means that 1 out of every 4 people on Earth might be African just 30 years from now. Throughout this vast continent, country after country is undergoing an enormous youth bulge. In several, more than half the population would not be old enough to buy alcohol in the United States. In Uganda, the median age is 15. Some see a future in which this massive, youthful population propels African nations onto the global stage in a way that could mirror the rise of China. But other experts say that without massive new job opportunities, this rapid growth is a recipe for poverty, radicalization, and violent conflict. I'm Gabrielle Sierra, and this is Why It Matters. Today, the world's African future.
Africa's population is growing fast.
This population boom will be dominated by one continent, Africa.
While the boom in numbers brings opportunities, there are also many challenges, like all those extra mouths to feed.
We have to unleash the genius of our young people, get out of their way, support them to create and innovate, and lead the way.
I always tell people the trains run on time in Switzerland, but I've not heard of notable thriller writers from Switzerland. The thrillers are coming out of places that are developing, where everything is changing and it's funky, it's difficult. And I think that really Africa's future is in its youth. My name is John Githongo. I'm CEO of Inuka Kenya and publisher of The Elephant. And I have been involved in anti-corruption work and media 33 years around the world.
John is an activist and a journalist who fled Kenya after exposing government corruption and returned in 2008. He spoke with us over Zoom from his home in Nairobi.
So, is that your kids we hear in the background?
Well, I live in an apartment block, and with the COVID pandemic, the poor guys, they're out there all day and sometimes late into the night. They play out in the front here. So,
Wow, that's lovely.
Yes, absolutely. One of the sad things that has happened in Africa is that because Africa is so rich in terms of natural resources and remains the world's richest continent in terms of, if you're looking for gold or the minerals used to make mobile phones, solar panels, they come out of Africa. This has been a curse for us. Our primary resource is our people. Africa is the world's youngest continent, most rapidly growing population, sort of a net contributor to the world's population as the other continents sort of are slowing down or shrinking in terms of population. We had 1.2 billion people on this continent in 2016, and it will be, 2.5 billion by 2050. And that trajectory is going to continue like that, I think. And so, yes, people call it, it's a youth bulge. So this new young generation of Africans are very worldly, very precocious, and much better informed, the best informed generation we've ever had, citizens of the world.
It's important to note that.
So they believe, just to let you know, they see all of this. They know that we have the wealth, right? We have the youth, which they don't have. And they understand that we're going to become the head, which is why we're a threat. Okay, this is why we're a threat, and this is why the MAGA folks are so upset, and this whole thing has become racial, right? Now, they accuse the Israelites of being racist or racial, skin color, and all this foolishness. But you call me this when I'm pointing out what you do, right? I see what you do, right? So I'm calling out what you do. So understand that they're not going to allow this to go without a plan. And I guarantee you, in their minds, the plan is to galvanize once again the Psalm 83 nations, right? The Psalm 83 nations, and they're going to try to reinvade Africa. They're going to try to, put their leadership in. They're going to try to remove the Sahel states. They're going to come up with an excuse like I was mentioning yesterday about what's happening in Nigeria to the Christians, and bring in, their armies to go help the Christians in Nigeria. Not that they care about Black Christians, but it's not going to work out for them. we are at the stage where there's an opposing force, right? There's an opposing force to the AU. The AU is controlled by the West, but we have the hope of the four carpenters, which I believe to be the Sahel nations, right, who are kicking out the colonizers. So think of this. All of these things are happening at the same time, right? The reduction of their replacement levels, right? Their fertility rates are so low that they can't replace, the adults, because hey, we all getting old. I'm old now, right? And so now we see Africa once again is becoming prosperous in terms of not only wealth, right? Not only getting control of their resources, right? But also getting doubling their population. So, but think of this, right? Those same nations, right? The ones who enslaved us, the French, the British, the Belgians, the US, the West, all of these nations pretty much had an IV coming into their veins from Africa. But that is being removed. And can you imagine, once we go back, we have the intellect, we have the experience, we have the skills, right, to make Africa Wakanda. And this is what the prophecies say would happen. Deuteronomy 30, verses 5 through 9. He will bring you to the land that belonged to your ancestors, and you will take possession of it. He will make you more prosperous and numerous than your ancestors. Did we not hear that Africa's population is doubling? Also, he said he's going to make us more prosperous. It's not people like Ibrahim and, the Sahel states all getting their resources back, taking control of their resources. So does that not, yes or no, family, does these things not illustrate? Give me a 1 if it illustrates this. Give me a 2 if it doesn't. Give me a 1 if it illustrates that the curses are being removed from us. We're gaining control of our resources. The population is starting to explode, just as the Most High had prophesied. He will make you more prosperous and numerous than your ancestors. Yahuah, your Elohim, will circumcise your hearts and the hearts of your descendants, so that you may love him with all your heart and with all your soul and live. Yahuah, your Elohim, will put all these curses on your enemies who hate and persecute you. You will again obey Yahuah and follow all his commands I am giving you today. Is not the Israelites turning to the Torah? Are we not obeying his laws, regardless of the gaslighting that Christians try to do? Then Yahuah, your Elohim, will make you most prosperous in all the work of your hands and in the fruit of your womb. We having more babies. They're not. Is not the curses reversing? Yes or no, family? Yes or no? Is the curses reversing or not? The young of your livestock and the crops of your land. Yahuah will again delight in you and make you prosperous, just as he delighted in your ancestors. So he's going to give us money, wealth. He's going to give us more babies. The population growing. We're seeing this. While our population is growing, their population is declining. Is that not the curses reversing? I'm just saying. We've been trying to warn y'all, but y'all don't listen. Y'all think we not the people. Y'all don't believe us when we say we Yahuah's people. But these curses show coming down quick. Isaiah 49, 19 to 21. Though you were ruined and made desolate without people, and your land laid waste, now you will be too small for your people. And those who devour you will be far away. Okay, so we get to go home. We already seen the population gonna double. And then Esra Elawi gonna return. Now the land gonna be too small for us. Why? Because your children shall be as the sand of the sea. Is that not what the original prophecy that the Most High gave to Moses? The children born during your bereavement will yet say in your hearing, this place is too small for us. Give us more space to live in. Then you will say in your heart, who bore me these? I was bereaved and barren. I was exiled and rejected. Who brought these up? I was left all alone, but these, where have they come from? Y'all see this population growth in Africa? Not only that, think about what's happening right now, right? You already have Esra Elawi, Israelite, Yasharal, already returning to the continent. Isaiah 54, 1-3. Sing, barren woman, you who never bore a child, burst into song, shout for joy. You who were never in labor, because more are the children of the desolate woman than of her who has a husband, says Yahuah. Enlarge the place of your tent, stretch your tent curtains wide. Do not hold back, lengthen your cords, strengthen your stakes, for you will spread out to the right and the left. Your descendants will dispossess nations and settle in their desolate cities. We're going to be pushing people out. Some of them people living in our land, we're going to be pushing them out. We're going to be doing just like our ancestors did. You got to go. Uh-oh, here come the Esra Elawi again. Ezekiel 36, 8-11. But you, mountains of Israel, will produce branches and fruit for my people Israel, for they will soon come home. I'm concerned for you and will look on you with favor. You will be plowed and sown, and I will cause many people to live on you. Yes, all of Israel. The towns will be inhabited and the ruins built. I will increase the number of people and animals living on you, and they will be fruitful and become numerous. Who? The people and the animals going to become numerous. We're already seeing it. I will settle people on you as in the past and will make you prosper more than before. Then you will know that I am Yahuah. And we already seeing this. And we already seeing the Esra Elawi return back. You could call it a wilderness or not. I'm just saying. A lot of our people have left. It's the rest of us that's waiting to go back. However that's going to manifest. But you can imagine that these prophecies, which is happening, the world don't see it. Why? Because they're not telling them. Jeremiah 30, 19-20. Then out of them shall proceed thanksgiving, and the voice of those who make merry. I will multiply them, and they shall not diminish. I will also glorify them, and they shall not be small. Their children also shall be as before, and their congregation shall be what? Established before me, and I will punish all who oppress them. So we're already seeing these prophecies coming to pass, right? They're already happening. The curses are reversing. Their numbers are going down and our numbers are going up. Africa, according to one of the videos, is going to be like China was, even more so. And here's the thing. Not only do we have the babies, the youth, we also have the wealth. Now, the difficulty for the powers that be is to prevent us from accessing our wealth. The difficulties is for them to control the resources that they've been controlling for the last 400 years on the continent, to prevent us from rising, to prevent us from becoming the head, to prevent us from ruling over them. You wonder why Trump is mad at black folks. You wonder why Trump is in black cities. You wonder why MAGA hate black folks. Because you're a threat to their survival. But they don't care that this is the fulfillment of prophecy. They don't care because they are at war with Yahuah. Their plans is to make sure that we don't go back, because they know if we go back, we're going to get control of the resources, and they're not going to forever get their hands on it ever again. We are a threat to the New World Order. They need our gold, our silver, our bauxite, whatever the other minerals they use for the cell phones. They need everything from the continent. But yet we have everything on the continent to supply us. What do we have? Not only do we have the gold and the silver and the bauxites and the metals, we have the water. We have the food. We just got to grow it instead of shipping it in. We have the land, even though according to scriptures, we're going to become so numerous, they're going to say, hey, we need some more room. And at this very time, that we see Africa rising, increasing, planning to double by 2050. We see their numbers declining to the point that they can't even replace them. You can't tell me that's not a curse reverse. Why you think they're pushing all of this interracial marriages? Because they need them some babies. They might be from you, but they can twist them and make them work for them. The whole plan that they had with Planned Parenthood and eugenics movement and the Georgia Guidestone seems to have backfired. What? The pit that you dug for us, you fallen into. All of the nations of Psalm 83 that conspired against us to make sure we never be a nation, that we forget who we are, to take away our heritage, our culture, our traditions. All of them are being affected by this reduction, this low birth rate where they can't replace themselves. Now, the thing is this, right? Do you think that Esra Elawi is supposed to be upset that their enemies is reducing in themselves? The less enemies we have, the better, right? Now, hey, I pray for all people that they might be saved. But I could tell you one thing. If I got somebody who pew-pewing me, pew-pewing my children, doing all these bad things to us, pedophile, this and that, I'm not crying. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to glory. I'm not going to glory in your persecution and suffering. We've been warning y'all for how long, but y'all don't listen. As a matter of fact, you ain't going to listen today. You ain't going to listen. I don't think you can. Most of y'all not going to listen. I don't think you can. Yes, Big Red, some of our enemies have melanin too, but they aren't the ones that are in control of the resources. They're not the ones we got to go to for our water. They're not the ones that we got to go to for our food. They're not the ones we got to go to for every single level of existence, right, of the Deuteronomy 28 curses. But those things are changing. They're going to have to come to us for the gold. They're going to have to come to us for the jobs. They're going to have to come to us for the food. Why? We got it all on the continent. All we got to do is just go back home. That's all we need. I guarantee you, let us go back home tomorrow. Africa will be like China in 5 years. Not 10, 5 years. You let the Esra Elawi from America and from the UK, from the Western nations, go back to the continent, we will be better than China in 5 years. Why is that? Because we have the skills. We have the intellect. We know how these people work. Not only can we do that, we can build new things. Why? Because now we don't have the oppressor keeping us down. Now, when we come up with business ideas, we can get the money to grow our businesses. Now that we want to build farms and become self-sustaining, we can. Why? Because we're supporting each other. They can't stop it. They want to stop it, but they can't stop it. Why? Because I showed you it is the prophecies. Yahuah said that he will put these curses on your enemy. Now we're seeing it. It's already happening. And that we will be blessed. We see it. It's already happening. He's going to increase the fruit of your womb. We see it on the continent. It's already happening. He's going to make us prosperous. We see it. It's already happening. They're getting the gold back, the uranium back, the resources back. They're resisting. Madagascar kicked out their leader, kicking French influence more so off the continent. We're coming back. I told you, I don't know when we're going home, but I think it's near. And this is why the heat has increased. This is why the pressure in America has increased. Why? Because they're going to push us out. I told you, because some of y'all love Babylon. Some of y'all love Egypt. You say, well, they got technology here. They got food here. It's not good for you. The technology is not good for you here. The food definitely not good for you here. The water's not good for you here. The air is not good. Look, some of y'all just need help to go find a better place on the continent, but you don't want to hear it. I'm not telling you to leave. I'm telling you, you're going to leave. You either going to leave or you're going to stay here and be judged with this nation. If you can't see that Babylon is falling, something's wrong with you. It's like I said in my last show, it's a bit obvious. The prophecies are here and they are moving fast. I have expectations of us leaving soon. I can't tell you what soon means. But these prophecies are off the chart. These birth pains are closer and closer together. Everything that the Bible says is going to happen, I am seeing. The only thing I don't see yet is us leaving. That's the only thing I don't see yet is us leaving. All the signs are there. Even the mark of the beast, which is a judgment on the Western nation. We're not going to be here. The Most High says he's going to bring us out. Africa might have digital currencies, but it ain't going to be the mark of the beast. Because the mark of the beast is going to be tied to your right hand and forehead. It's going to be tied to transhumanism. It's going to be tied to the Western transhumanist movement, right? Them trying to become God. The mark of the beast is going to be tied to the implants in your head. The mark of the beast is going to be tied to them Borgifying you. Africa not going to do that. They might have digital currency, but they're not filled with the evil spirits like the Western nations are. Remember, according to Deuteronomy 32, those nations are ruled by fallen angels, but Israel is ruled by Yahuah. So everything you see here, the pornography, the pedophilia, the wickedness, the transhumanism, all of those are Gentile nations. Those are the Psalm 83 nations. Those are the ones who are being ruled by principalities and wickedness in heavenly places. So when I see all these things happening and I'm seeing all these prophecies come together, I'm like, how far can the wilderness experience be? How much long can it be before we get out of here? I'm telling you, it has to be close. Just my opinion. Just think about it. 300,000 black women without a job. Whole bunch of black folks getting laid off. The country has also shut down. So some of the services that we're used to, you're going to have to do without. How long will this shutdown last? I don't know. Maybe to come back quick, maybe not. It's been sort of it's been over a week or two. I don't know what it was. It's been about a week. What if it goes longer and they stop picking up your trash and they stop putting, filtering out your water and putting chlorine in there? Why? Because a lot of those things are done with federal money. So you're going to start seeing more trash on. That's assuming they don't pass some budget and allow, this government to get back in line. But just think of you going out and you put your trash out and nobody's coming to pick up your trash. Can you imagine New York? New York already have a ton of trash. I mean, just any major city. So a lot of the services that we take for granted may end up disappearing. And so we're going to end up looking for asylum, which the Bible says flee, be like the pilgrims on the earth. That's what the Bible teaches. And so, look, like I said, those who don't see it, they're not meant to see it. But see, I believe that the Most High has given me an anointing to see these things and to put these pieces together. Because to me, it's obvious. I can see this. I'm like, y'all can't see this? Y'all don't see many Tekel Upharsin? You can't see that handwriting on the wall? Well, fam, that's all I got. I want to share that with y'all because, it's interesting times. Be hopeful. Trust in the Most High. Don't be fearful because he will provide. He's never failed us. Every jot, every tittle has come to pass. Look at our history. Look at our captivity. There's nothing that was written that did not come to pass. Every single jot, every single tittle. Even if you look at the prophecies dealing with these last days, everything has come to pass. Men being lovers of selves. Silly women laden with sins. Why? Because they alphabets. The whole alphabet movement. The mark of the beast, the digital implant, the chips, the technology, the AI, everything is coming to pass. So if those things happen, you don't have nothing to worry about because your deliverance have also been prophesied. Your deliverance is also going to happen. The judgment of your enemies is also going to happen. It has been written. How did they say in the Moses movie with Charlton Heston? Let it be written, let it be done. It's going to happen. So, family, if you want to support this ministry, you can. You can become a patron. And you can also go to tailministries.com, click on the donations tab to support us. You can also give Cash App, $TEOTW7101, $TEOTW7101. You can also like, share, and subscribe. You can also like my brother's book. Or buy my brother's book. They always knew we were Israelites. You can buy my book as well. True Jerusalem, the Lost Kingdoms of the Israelites. So, fam, I got some interesting stuff I'm working on. I'm telling you, the thing I'm coming out with, I'm going to be shaking up the community. I'm telling you, I'm going to be shaking up the community with this. I'm going to be shaking up the Christians with it. I'm going to get some heat. Ain't no doubt about it. But I'll be sharing it with y'all in probably next month sometime, hopefully. Maybe at least by I would say the beginning of the first year at latest, maybe. All right. So love y'all. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending. Well, family, the wait is over. The moment has arrived where truth emerges triumphant from the shadows of history. Introducing the True Jerusalem, the Lost Kingdoms of the Israelites, the groundbreaking work by me, Yahuah Vale. A journey into the past that reshapes the future. I cut through centuries of misconceptions with piercing clarity. This book delivers a compelling case packed with evidence that commands attention and gonna get some respect. Come with me for a second, family, and discover how these thrilling civilizations flourished, protected by towering highlands and sustained by advanced engineering. Some have asked, where is Jerusalem? Is it the land in the Middle East? I say no. It is in the highlands of Ethiopia. With hours of groundbreaking research, this book brings in a new revelation, and it will transform your understanding of African history and its connections to the ancient world. It's going to remove from your mind the conditioning by the Romans of what has really happened to our past. Come with me, family, to the Ethiopian highlands and find out why this is our land. Why things have been hidden and obfuscated for centuries. We are royalty, children of the Most High. What kind of land do you expect us to have? Dried up dirt in the Middle East, or land flowing with rivers? A land full of beautiful animals flowing with milk and honey. Don't miss out on this monumental unveiling. Grab your copy today and stand on the side of truth. Visit Amazon.com or www.tailministries.com to purchase your book and join Yahuah Vale's teachings on Tail Ministries. Family, your journey to a hidden history has now begun. So family, get your copy of True Jerusalem, the Lost Kingdoms of the Israelites today. Journey to the heart of Africa, where history and legend converge to reveal the forgotten kingdoms of the Israelites and the true location of Jerusalem.